Wonder shall never cease in this UK. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is what we call the league table of NHS trust in England. Yes, this has been newly published by the UK government. So basically, there's just ranking NHS trust from the top to the bottom. You can say that from the best to the worst. Now, this is a move that the ministers are saying that this is what is going to drive improvements in the NHS, and this is what is going to bring transparency in the NHS, because there have been so many complaints about the NHS in the past.
Well, it's a good thing if league tables are keeping the public better informed, better able to hold me to account, and me better able to hold the NHS to account to deliver. But if people are then looking at the league table and thinking, as NHS leaders, oh, I'm not very happy with my ranking, I think we should be up and improve their performance. Great, that's exactly what we want to happen.
They said the NHS is going down, things are not going to get any better. They believe that this league table of NHS trust is what is going to bring major changes. Now, what does this ranking really mean? How does this affect us as taxpayers or as patients or as NHS staff? Guys, let's unpack this. Stop that. So hi guys, welcome once again to my YouTube channel. For those of you wondering, yes, I am all of that. I am a taxpayer, I am also an NHS staff, and sometimes I'm a patient. So it affects me in all the ways or all the angles that you can think of. Now let's take an example. So if NHS Trust A is ranked number 1 and NHS Trust B is ranked number 50, what does this actually mean? It basically means that the NHS Trust A, which was ranked number 1, performed better across the key measures according to the government compared to NHS Trust B. When we say key measures, basically we are saying that in terms of NHS waiting times, patient feedback or reviews, in terms of finances, this particular NHS Trust that was ranked number 1 performed way better across all these key measures that the government is using compared to NHS Trust B. But they are trying to say that this doesn't necessarily mean that NHS Trust B is unsafe, or NHS Trust B is incompetent, or NHS Trust B is failing in any way. They are trying to say that it doesn't mean that, because if we look at it critically, some departments, even in the lower ranked NHS trust, could be doing very, very well. So the league table basically gives an average performance snapshot of the entire trust, not the full story, and we all have to keep that in mind. The government is saying that they introduced the league table basically to tackle what we call the postcode lottery. When I heard postcode lottery, I was also wondering what it is. So basically, postcode lottery means that some people, based on their postcode, right, they get to receive better healthcare just because of where they live. So it looked like based on where you live, you could access high quality healthcare just because of your postcode, whereas in some other postcodes, they would have to wait twice as much for the same type of service. Okay, so let's say somebody living in London will wait for, let's say, 3 weeks to get a hip operation. Meanwhile, in some other areas, NHS trust in that area, you'd have to wait for, let's say, over a year before you get that same surgery done. So by ranking NHS trust, these ministers think that now there's going to be transparency, right? Because remember, some of the key measures that they are using to rank the NHS trust is patient's feedback and the waiting times. So now there's going to be very transparent, and they're going to shine a light or expose all these inequalities in certain NHS trusts, so that these trusts that are not performing well or at the bottom of the league table will now be pushed, or will now be forced or pushed to be able to perform better, because you see that you're last, you're carrying last. So apparently this forms part of the 10-year plan that they have put in place, or they are trying to put in place for the NHS, where they want to improve the care in the UK in general, in all NHS trusts, and make them more accountable and improve staffing levels and all of that. So with this, what they are trying to do is cut down the waiting times, improve accountability, make things more transparent, to force the poor performing NHS trusts to want to do better, like the ones that have been ranked high on the list, and then also to input more money in the trusts that are not performing well, so that when they now have enough resources and technology, they can now be able to perform better, basically. And then by this, they also want to be able to recruit and maintain more staff, because if, let's say, an NHS trust is not performing basically because they are short-staffed, now this will be transparent, the ministers will be able to know this, and then with that, they can be able to invest more in this particular NHS trust to be able to recruit and maintain more staff. And this is backed by £26 billion every year that they want to wish to invest into the NHS, which is good. Now, the good thing about this is that the table is updated every 3 months. Can you imagine? It's so funny, but let's see if it works. The league table is updated every 3 months, and it's basically based on 30 performance metrics. So like I said, it includes the A&E waiting time, how long people have to wait when they go to the A&E to be seen, how long people have to wait for surgeries to be done, ambulance response time, times, financial health, how their trusts are balancing their finance books, and then patient direct feedback or patient surveys, okay, and their experiences with certain trusts. So each trust is grouped into 4 various segments. We have the strongest performers to the most challenged, and then within each segment, they are also ranked amongst their peers. Interesting. So people were saying in my WhatsApp group whether this is really necessary. Is it really necessary? First of all, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Is this really necessary? And do you think this can actually bring about a positive change, or rather it could bring about a negative change? Because people are saying that they are oversimplifying very complex issues by just bringing about a league table. You know, you've made it look so simple, but it's not like that in reality. Because a single score might mean the fact that, so let's say the trust is very excellent in their cancer care, right? When you go to the oncology department, they are the best. However, maybe the A&E waiting times is just long because they don't have enough staff in the A&E, right? If you base on the feedback from patients visiting their A&E and then you rank them low, it's not really fair. It's not like that. That's a good point. Another group of people are saying that now, when you rank hospital very low, let's say they are ranked the lowest on the league table right now, you are sort of like dampening the staff morale. If nurses in these hospitals are doing their best, they are coming to work every day, they don't even have breaks, and with all the hard work and all the energy they are putting into their work for that little pay, you end up telling them that they are the least performing NHS trust in the whole of England. It's just going to dampen their morale. It's like what else should they do? That would just affect their spirits. Do you understand? Now, if you are ranked top and if you are ranked low, what happens to you? So apparently those that are top performers, those that are ranked high in the league table, they are going to enjoy more freedom, and they are also going to obviously be, get praise from the public, and it's going to improve their reputation. Top performing trusts are going to be prioritized for capital investments. They're going to enjoy more freedom. They will not be strict measures. It's like you're doing well already, so we'll give you more freedom with your finances and all of that, right? Senior executives of these trusts that are low performing, they could also suffer, loss of some bonuses because you're not performing well, right? So that could also happen, but not the nurses, not the frontline staff, right? That could also happen. Now, for the low performing trusts, what's going to happen is that they are going to face tighter or stricter supervision and oversight. But then the good thing about it is that now they will see that they are struggling. That's why they are not performing well. So the government is going to fund these trusts that are not performing well. They're going to obviously see why they are not performing well. Is it staffing levels and all of that? And then maybe because of that, they would want to fund these trusts to be able to recruit more staff, get more equipment and all of that, so that they can do better in the following 3 months, after. But for the general public, some people might not understand that, if a trust is ranked, very low, it does not necessarily mean that it's unsafe or, you cannot go there for healthcare. It doesn't mean that. But the general public might think that, okay, and then might now decide to seek, let's say their local trust is performing very low, they might now decide to go and seek healthcare somewhere else that is ranking high. People can act like that, right? And that is bad. Another thing is that we all have to bear in mind that all trusts in England are regulated by the CQC, and the CQC will make sure that all these trusts are performing or doing, what they are supposed to do. So obviously all these NHS trusts are performing okay because they are regulated by CQC, which does frequent checks on them. So in essence, all these NHS trusts are safe, but this ranking could affect how patients or how the public sees these trusts that are ranked low. Another thing is that if you're going to look for a job, okay, let's say you're a nurse, you just graduated from school and you're going to look for a job, and then the trust that you want to go to, you now realize that is not ranked high at all. Meanwhile, maybe their main issue for this particular trust is that they don't have enough staff. That's why they are probably not ranked high. Now, other people that are looking to get into these hospitals to work, they will now see that this hospital is not performing well, and they will now not want to work there. Obviously, they would want to work for a trust that has good reputation, right? So they want to work for a trust that is high on the league table. That would affect these NHS trusts as well. So these are some of the downsides of the league table that people are trying to talk about, which I think is a good point. Because obviously, imagine you're going to get a job and then you realize that this particular trust, they are the least performing trust in the whole of England. You definitely not want to go and work there. But the government is now saying that they are going to fund these NHS trusts with more money so that they'll be able to recruit and retain more staff. At this point, these NHS trusts, I have a feeling that if because they are ranked low, UK-based nurses are not willing to go there, they would have to rely on foreign nurses. Yes, in that case, if you're a foreign nurse watching me right now, okay, and then you don't care whether this hospital is ranked high or ranked low, you just want to work in a UK hospital, you probably passed your CBT, but then you want to get your OSCE done, or you are yet to come to the UK to start the entire process and become a nurse in the UK. For you, you don't care, right? Now, the government is saying that they're going to invest over £29 billion every year into the NHS to recruit and retain more staff, which is good. So you could be lucky as well. Okay, in that case, I recommend EMGS for you if you're that person. EMGS is your one-stop shop for relocating as a nurse to the UK, to Canada, to the US, and to Australia. So if you want to relocate to the UK, they can help you with all the exams that you need. Talk about your CBT exams, your IELTS exam, your OSCE preparation. They would help you pass all of these exams. They'll help you prepare for your interview. They'll help you with your CV writing. They'll help you to make your application to apply for these jobs in these NHS trusts and make your whole relocation to the UK as a nurse journey very successful. I have visited their OSCE center. They have physical OSCE centers in Nigeria and they have physical OSCE center in the UK. So if you want to come to the UK to prepare for the OSCE exam and you want a place to reside as well, they have accommodation facilities in their OSCE center that they can accommodate you whilst you are learning for the OSCE, and they have a very, very high OSCE success rate. I have gone there personally myself. I have seen the facilities. They are top notch and they have so many success stories. Okay, so if you're looking to relocate to the UK as a nurse who was trained outside the UK, your one-stop shop for everything you need to relocate to the UK as a nurse is EMGS. I'll leave all their contact details on the screen and in the description of the video so that you can easily access EMGS and then start your relocation journey now. Remember, now there's going to be £29 billion investment with the NHS Trust. They're going to be recruiting more staff very, very soon. Now let's talk about the good aspect of this whole league table. So personally for me, I think that now, although initially it may demoralize or damage the morale of staff working in the lower ranked NHS trust, eventually they are going to want to do better. Eventually they are going to want to see, what is this trust doing that is always at the top? And now they will now start to implement some of those things so that they are also ranked higher, you know, in the next 3 months when it is redone. Okay, so that is going to happen. Also, for taxpayers and voters, they'll now know exactly where their money is going, because if the government now decides to fund this particular NHS trust, it will be made transparent and then they'll see and then they'll know why. Another thing that we have to note is that this is not the first time this has been done. Apparently in the 1990s, this NHS league table was introduced, but it was scraped up because they found it very controversial and they realized that it had oversimplified very complex realities. Okay, so they scraped it off and now they think it has to come back, and they brought it back. In fact, some people are saying that it's not fair because it looks like the government is naming some people and shaming some people. Meanwhile, in other metrics that the government is not using to measure, maybe these low performing NHS trusts are doing much better. So basically the NHS league table, what does it mean? It means that overall the higher ranked NHS trusts are performing better over key metrics that the government is using, like A&E waiting times, patient feedback, and wait time for surgeries and all of that. And by this they mean to end what they call the postcode lottery, so that everybody will now be motivated to perform, to do better, to perform well, so that they would also be ranked higher next time. And it's going to be done every 3 months, and then the government is using 30 key metrics to be able to do this. Okay, as well, remember that if you are ranked low, it's not the end of the world. Rather, they'll see where your challenges are, where you are struggling, and then they will fund you. But if you are ranked high, you'll be rewarded with a good reputation, you'll be prioritized for capital investment, and then your authorities or your, the senior managers and all of that, you can, get some bonuses, and they would have the freedom, or there'll be less strict oversight on them. They'll have the freedom to do more things and manage their finances and all of that. There'll be less control. They'll be able to enjoy a bit of freedom. Okay, so basically this is what the league table means. Okay, it doesn't mean that do not go to the low performing NHS trust because they are not good. Every NHS trust is safe because they are all regulated by the CQC and they provide good quality care. That is why they are still in existence. Okay, now the number one question that we all have to wait and see how this plays out is whether this will work. Okay, it looks okay on paper. Now when we come to reality, is this going to help? Now before we end this video, let me know what your trust is and where you're ranking. Okay, type the name of your trust that you're working for and let me know where you are ranking in the league table. For me, I'm not in England, so my trust is not on there. What about you? And what's your opinion about this? Do you think this table is going to help or hurt the NHS? Thank you so much for watching. Bye.